Hey everybody, what's going on? Hellmite here, bringing another video from Grab the Lantern today. It's Tuesday and the patch notes have been posted, which means it's time for us to break down the top 5 changes of patch 13.24. I'll let you guys know what the biggest changes were in this week's patch and what you can be looking forward to in the coming weeks. 13.24 is the last patch of Season 13. It feels like just yesterday it started and we're already going to be going into a new season as of next patch. Because of this is a fairly small patch, all things considered. That said, there are still enough things that we would need to talk about today to let you guys know what is going up going into 14.1. Just as a quick aside as well, there is a ginormous slew of changes here for Arena, which is coming back on this patch, but also there are changes to like every champion in the game, plus most of the items in the game for Arena specifically. If you're interested in Arena, I highly recommend you read the patch notes of your own, because I'm not going to be covering those today, but suffice to say, those are there in case you're curious. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and hop right into things, starting off with the number 5 change. This is the introduction of Hwei, the Visionary, to League of Legends, the first champion in the game to have 10 activated abilities. I didn't stutter, I'm not wrong. It's 10 activated abilities on this champion's kit, which makes him one of the highest skill floor, highest skill ceiling champions in the game. Riot have basically said they're balancing around pro play specifically, so if you intend to be getting your Hwei on 13.24, make sure you're committing a lot of time to this champion, because he is not the kind of champion you are going to be able to have a casual relationship with, but certainly a very unique champion amongst all of those released into League of Legends. The number 4 change on this week's patch are the changes to Leona. Now, Leona's been lackluster for a while now, and Riot are looking for ways to bump up her power, and while these buffs are nice, they ultimately don't do a whole lot for Leona. Increased damage on her ult and the better resist on her W they help her out, but I don't think they contribute to her main game plan very much, which is that she wants to go all in early and often. Riot did say they specifically wanted to avoid buffing her early levels. That's fine, but I don't think these changes then help her very much. It's like giving Renekton scaling buffs. Yeah, I guess theoretically in games that go long, Renekton's less useless, but he's still not the kind of champion that wants the game to go late. Similar story here with Leona, where she doesn't really want to be benefiting from these buffs because she wants to end the game pre-20 minutes. As a result, these are fine. They'll make her stronger, sure, but not in ways that I think many Leona players will feel overall. The number 3 change on this week's patch are the changes to K'Sante. K'Sante obviously had a massive power down on 13.23, most notably the mana cost increase on his Q, but because of this, Riot are giving him a bit of a bump back up, specifically with regards to his mana usage. W is down by 20 mana at all ranks, which is a very nice usability bonus, as well as having a slightly buffed resistance scaling, so it'll deal a little bit more damage in the later stages of the game when you have more resistances. This is nice for K'Sante. It makes W much more of a usable cooldown, especially in lane. It doesn't do a ton to shift the power level on where he's at right now, but I do at least like these changes, and I think it's a nice little tap for K'Sante that'll make him feel a little bit better to play. Moving on down to the number 2 changes here, we're going to be talking about the Mordekaiser changes. Riot are trying to give him a couple of buffs, and these ultimately amount to more quality of life changes than anything else, but I do think they help him in a couple key areas. First up, the change to his ultimate is very nice. It will no longer fizzle if the target goes into a bush as you start casting it on them. This does mean that they can still hide within bushes, especially when they're within the Death Realm itself, but it means that if Mordekaiser is pressing R on you and you walk into a bush, you're now going into Death Realm as opposed to being able to get out of line of sight. Riot did this to Garen a few years ago with his ultimate, and it's nice to see that they're doing it for Mordekaiser to make his ult a little bit more reliable. The Q buff is fine. It's kind of a meme that Mordekaiser only ever gets buffs to his Q, but it's a nice change. It means that if Mordekaiser is buying AP, he's going to feel better about it. It means he's a little less incentivized to go full tank. It's not like a tremendous change by any stretch of the imagination, but certainly it will help Mordekaiser's more AP heavy builds, especially if he gets ahead. These will move the needle on Mordekaiser's balance, not by a ton, but I think that they're nice little quality of life changes to the champion overall. Finally, the number 1 change on this week's patch are the changes to Briar. I told you we'd be back here to talk about more Briar Nerfs. For those of you keeping track at home, this is the 5th patch of the 6 that she's been legal for, that she's been getting nerfed on. Hilarious. So anyways, stop me if you've heard this before. As Briar's players continue to learn how to play her, Riot have to nerf her even harder to compensate for their new skill. You've heard this a million times. It's happening again. But this time, Riot are actually tackling Briar from a much bigger perspective. This is intended to be a nerf to her lethality builds, but also an overall nerf to Briar. And there are a bunch of changes on here that I think really do hurt her. Obviously, she's down 20 damage on her Q. Her E is healing for less and giving you less DR. This is going to be more relevant on the lethality Briar builds that are a lot more glass cannon and rely on that DR and healing to stay alive. And most notably, R's damage has been changed from physical to magic, meaning that it will not benefit from your lethality at all, and therefore you can't really rely on it to do a ton of damage immediately up front. The W change here isn't actually a nerf. This has been compensated for by the attack speed ratio that has been added to Briar's base stats. Effectively, what this means is that if you are building attack speed on Briar, say for example you went Stridebreaker instead of Eclipse, you are going to be getting more value from that, but if you're not going attack speed, you are going to feel worse off when you're in Briar's W. Overall, I like the direction of these changes. I think these are very targeted hits to Briar's specific playstyles, and I think that it is toning back her overall. But we've been here before, right? Briar has taken significant nerfs multiple times before, and as a result, I'm not entirely sure this will be enough to get her out of the metagame. I don't think she'll get nerfed in 14.1, but anything's possible, and I'll see you guys in 14.1, and we'll see if Briar takes another nerf once we're there. But those are the top 5 changes of 1324. You guys, let me know what you're most excited for down in the comment section below. I'm just curious how much more Riot are going to continue to nerf Briar. That's what I'm excited for. But you guys let me know in the comments what you're excited for. If you enjoyed the video today, go ahead and leave it a like. And if you really enjoyed the video, consider subscribing. I upload a video every Monday, Friday, and on patch days like today as well. Once again, thank you guys so very much for watching. I do appreciate it. And I'll talk to you all later.